All right, well, for the sake of time, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the social sustainability presentation. Just some quick Zoom housekeeping. You can feel free to have your camera on if you like, or leave it off if you don't want to. But please just make sure to keep yourself muted throughout the presentation. We can get some background noise sometimes and it'll be a little bit distracting. All right. So my name is Aaliyah Garrett. I'm the Energy Program Specialist here with Sarasota County. And Walter, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Walter Gilbert. I a bunch of stuff, I think. But, basically a fourth generation Sarasotan and all around activist.
Awesome. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be talking about today. First, we're going to cover what sustainability is. We're going to get into a discussion about what equity is, give a brief history of inequity in Sarasota County, talk about how you can get involved, some local ways, and then talk about some solutions, our programs. And then at the end, we'll have time for questions. So if you do have a question and you don't want to forget it during the presentation, you can always just type it in the chat box and I'll look that over real quick at the end of the presentation. If not, at the end, you can unmute yourself and turn your camera on and we can talk about it then as well. So what is sustainability? Sustainability is meeting the needs of the present without sacrificing the future's ability to meet their own needs. So there's really three pillars that are referred to when we're talking about sustainability, and that would be environmental, economic, and social. A lot of people think when they think of sustainability, they just think, you know, environment, eco-friendly, that sort of stuff, but it really does encompass all three. So where the three connect really is truly being sustainable. And what is equity? So this is a really famously cited illustration. And as you can see, there's three people trying to peer over a fence to watch a game. And if we treated them equally and we gave them all the same size box, you see that the one furthest on the right still can't see. So if we treated them with equity, the person on the right would get two boxes and then they would be able to see. So treating people equally isn't always fair. And then on this next slide, there's another illustration with people trying to reach apples that they're picking. So equality is about sameness, and it promotes fairness and justice by giving everyone the same thing. But it can only work if everyone starts from the same place. So in this example, equality only works if everyone is the exact same height. Whereas equity is more about fairness, and that's making sure people have the same access to opportunities. So sometimes our differences in history create barriers to participation. So in order to have equality, we must first ensure equity. And then we'll just give a brief history of inequity, Walter.
Yeah, you know, when we look at this, a lot of people say, why aren't things the same? And as you can see from the illustration here, there's a lot of things that contribute to things not actually being fair and equitable. The Jim Crow laws was a big barrier to things being equitable. For those that may not know what Jim Crow laws were they weren't really laws, they were standards that different communities set to ensure that segregation stayed in place and people stayed in their place, so to speak. And those things did exist here in Sarasota. One of the biggest places of segregation that was inequitable was over in what we call Overtown, that is known as the Rosemary district now. Children and people lived over there. People had their own businesses and churches thing, but they were segregated. And that made it hard for people to overcome unequal things as far as places to live, places to shop, how you moved around the city, your education. But, you know, despite those things, you know, people still did overcome. As you can see, there's the ratio to the poverty levels and the number of Black people that live here in the area.
So some general ways that you can advance equity, you can examine your beliefs and habits, you can educate yourself about inequity issues, you can support minority-owned businesses, discover local organizations, you can volunteer and donate. But the next slides, we're going to get into some more detail about actual things you can do locally here in Sarasota County. So one thing is visiting Sarasota's Newtown Conservation Historic District. Walter, if you want to talk more about that.
And this is an ongoing thing that we're trying to develop here. Our biggest thing that we want to do is we want to build a history and cultural center here in Sarasota that will identify and show what that contribution was from the Black community here. As I did mention earlier, we did have a community here which was known as Overtown. Overtown was the first Black community here because of the segregation and Jim Crow laws. You know, Black people couldn't live anywhere they wanted. They had to live in certain areas where they was told. So what we've done is we've partnered with the city, and they've allowed us to develop a history and to show that history. And they began by giving Newtown Alive a grant to research and document that history. And we found quite a few things that weren't on the book, so to speak, to identify the contributions that the Black people that were here originally, who came here in the late 1800s, by the way, and their contributions to building this area. And we've done that in a number of ways. The basic thing we did, because our history wasn't documented as much as the rest of the community's history, we had to do oral histories, and we did over 48 of them. And we found out a lot of things. In fact, like I say, I'm a fourth generation person here. I found out a lot of things that I didn't know about our history here. But it's an ongoing thing, and our ultimate goal is to establish a history and cultural center here in our area for everybody to learn and understand that history.
Here's
right here, you can see some of the older historical buildings from the Overtown area and some from the Newtown area. That is New Bethel Missionary Baptist Church, one of the first churches in the area. We have an ongoing farmers market that we do every Saturday in the Newtown areas. People come out and meet people and establish friendships and communication and learn some of that history firsthand from the people there at that site.
Yeah, and it's a great way to support like minority-owned businesses as well. So definitely we recommend checking that out sometime.
This is one of the projects that we're starting. I'm happy to say I'm being part of. As I said, the Overtown area, which is known now to most people as the Rosemary district, was the first Black community here. And if you go over into the Rosemary district, which we still call Overtown, as old people, you would see that that community does not reflect what was there originally. It's been completely gentrified. And if you notice, there's very few of the original historical buildings there. So we've started a group. It's called RAD. It's the Rosemary Arts and Design District. And one of the things we're doing is the Gilbert Mural Initiative. And what we're doing is we're going to have murals, historic murals placed throughout that area to represent the type of culture that was there and to add just that culture and arts to that district. The one in the middle, that was our first mural. In fact, that's going to be probably our smallest one. But we have plans on putting another 8 murals down there to depict that history.
And they also have, you can attend First Friday. So it's an event in Newtown on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Way and Orange Avenue. And it's every first Friday of the month from 5 to 9 p.m. and there's live music and shopping. So you can support the Newtown community and small businesses that way. So definitely a great event to go
And
to.
also where this is being held is on the corners of Orange and MLK. And this is the proposed site for the cultural center that we want to build. And when I talk about the culture center, it's going to be not just a little small place. We want to put up a purpose building that's going to house a museum, meeting rooms, education rooms, and also a part of that would be for presentations. So we got some big plans for that site right there. So if you want to find out any more about Sarasota African American Culture Center, there is a site, and you can go also to the Newtown Live page and their monthly newsletter and stay abreast of that.
And you can learn from Newtown Alive. Walter's actually very active with that organization, as he's mentioned. So here's just a few pictures from that. In the next couple slides, we'll detail some of the things that they offer and information that they have. So we'll get started on that. So we recommend definitely visiting their website. They have a lot of great information on there. That's the website up at the top. They also do trolley tours, which I believe they're opening up again soon. They weren't doing them for a bit because of COVID, but they're guided and interactive trolley tours that showcase the history of Sarasota's earliest African-American pioneers. So this is just a great way to, learn more information, be there and get to actually see some of the historic sites and hear from somebody that is very knowledgeable on the topic.
And they're very, very informative, and it tells you and shows you, we take you to places that a lot of people don't get to see because of the way the city has been set up. It was designed for us to be invisible. But once you get on these trolley tours, we take you into the community, show you all our historical sites, and you actually get to meet some of the people.
And they actually have a historic timeline available too. It's on their website, and it's full of information. I went through it and I was just amazed. There was so much that I didn't know and that I learned. So definitely I recommend checking this out as well. And they have these markers that are packed with information about African-American history. So here's just some of the locations of these markers, but they basically just detail what happened at that location and give you some more information. So it's a great way just to learn more. And then Newtown Alive also has a mobile app, which I just downloaded, and it's got just all of the information from their website. And it actually is really great because if you don't necessarily want to go on a trolley tour or talk to anybody, if you're more just want to do it on your own, this is a great way to do that. You can just download it on your phone and you can learn more about the history right at your fingertips.
And I must take a moment here to give credit where credit is due. Vicki Odom, who was the CEO of Newtown Alive and is the point of the spear for building the Culture Museum, has really dedicated a lot of herself to this and has really done a really, really great job.
And I just saw I got a question in the chat box about getting this information later. I'll definitely send out the presentation to everybody, so don't feel like you have to write all these things down and the addresses and all the websites, because you'll be getting a copy of the presentation after. So you'll have all of this available to you. And they also do have a book. So if you would be interested in reading really in depth about the early settlers and how they made a living, and the book also describes religious and social traditions and so many other things. So you can purchase this through Newtown Alive's website. So if you're interested, definitely that's a great option as well. And as Walter mentioned, they do have
I guess she went away for a moment. Pretty sure technology will catch her up. But we do have the newsletter available. and don't know what happened to it.
History and Cultural Center that he's mentioned.
You went away for a while.
Oh, I'm sorry. I said, I believe this is what you were referring to as the History and Cultural Center, if you just want to talk a little bit.
That house there is known as the Leonard Reed House. It was originally the home of Mr. Leonard Reed, who was one of the early pioneers here. He was the right-hand man of Mr. John Gillespie, who was the actually founder of the city of Sarasota, Sarasota's first mayor. That house used to be on the corner of 6th and Coconut. It's been moved several times, and right now it's about to be moved up to the corner of MLK and Orange Avenue, where we're planning on building a culture center. This will be our base of operations until we get the center built, and we will be using Mr. Leonard Reed's house as our first and display museum and office space.
And when I was looking up ways to get involved, I came across the UU Church of Sarasota. They actually have a racial justice program, and they focus on dismantling the systems and the culture of white supremacy, racism, and anti-Semitism. And their website actually has some really good information. They have 2 different sections about educational opportunities. So it has different links to things that you can read or blogs or whatever it may be. And then they also have action opportunities, which has like upcoming events that you can get involved with, just go out to the community and do with them. So that's a great option as well. And here's their website for more information.
And they do really, really great work. They're really great people over there. They really get it. They want to help people understand. Some of this stuff is not easy stuff to actually face up to for some people. And they make it real easy, and they make it understandable, and they work hard at it. So please feel free to contact them.
And there's also a quarterly publication called the Critical Times, and it covers local news and grassroots efforts in the community. So it's published by WSLR, and they also have half-hour local news shows and social media feeds. So there's their website for more information, but definitely if you want to follow this WSLR page, they can give you a lot of information. And they also do have an activist calendar too. I wanted to include that. Here's the link to the website, and they have upcoming events monthly. So you can check that out too, just to keep updated on what's going on locally and see how you can get involved or what you'd be interested in. And you can attend an upcoming American Civil Liberties Union meeting. There's a Sarasota chapter. They meet usually on Thursdays at the Selby Library, and they want to help advance equity and justice in our community. So this is another way that you can get involved too. And then their website's at the bottom if you want to get more information from them. And then you can also visit the Peace Education and Action Center. This center connects and empowers people to build a socially just, nonviolent, and sustainable community and world. They do have an anti-racism working group, and they do different demonstrations and events. So definitely to learn more, see how you can get involved with them, I would visit their website. And there is also a Climate Justice Coalition. It started in 2017, and they work together to foster resiliency and promote a just and equitable transition to a low carbon society. There's like 18 member organizations. I included some of them right here, but all of these, even reaching out to them individually, if that's what you would be interested in getting involved in, they're all great organizations. So working with them would be a good idea as well. And Newtown Nation also has monthly meetings. They host community meetings bi-monthly on Tuesday evenings, and it's just a great way to hear from local community members about different issues that they're facing or different events that are going on. So I definitely recommend attending one of those if you can as well. And getting involved with Unidos Now. Unidos Now is a really great organization that we've been working with. Their mission is to elevate the quality of life of the local Hispanic and Latino community through education, integration, and civic engagement. So they have a lot of youth programs that are designed to address barriers that many low-income first-generation students face. The people there are so wonderful, so definitely contact them. They're very helpful and responsive. And we just wanted to give a statement on Black Lives Matter. This is something that's very dear to my heart and many others. Walter?
Yes, you know, the news media, other places, they take this and they make this something that it's really, really not. Black Lives Matter started out as a phrase, as a statement. It means just what it says, Black Lives Matter. Nothing more, nothing less. It's just pointing out the things that have been happening where, and people really took it and tried to make it something negative. It's not, it's nothing to be afraid of. It's a slogan, and it means what it says. Black Lives Matter. It's not saying other lives don't matter. It's not saying all lives don't matter. It was a slogan that was developed in reaction and answers to things that were going on that seemed like Black lives didn't matter to certain people. It's been hijacked by organizations and made into something that is not, and it's just not. And I just needed to say that because when you hear someone say Black Lives Matter, it's not to be shrunk from or taken lightly. If there's any questions on that later, I'll be happy to answer.
And I definitely wanted to talk about our energy upgrade program. So basically the energy upgrade program is to help low-income families in Sarasota County reduce their energy and water use at home and then save money on their utility bills. So this is a really good example of sustainability because we're helping people save money on their bills, we're helping save resources, and we're helping improve the quality of their indoor life. So definitely all three pillars are met in that way. If you know anybody that could benefit from this program, definitely feel free to email me, call me, contact me. We have do-it-yourself energy kits now that include rope caulk, foam tape, a low-flow shower head, faucet aerators, all things that can help people start saving money right away. And we do free consultations as well. So if you know anybody that would benefit from this program, please have them reach out to me, or you can reach out to me directly as well. And we also did work on creating a fact sheet. The front page of the fact sheet lists energy saving tips and also water saving tips, and then has all of our information about attending a free class, our website, getting a free consultation and kit. And the back has a bunch of resources on there for people for utility bill payment assistance and other financial assistance as well. So this is a really great resource if you would like a copy. Actually, I'll just send a copy of this out with the presentation as well. Just so you have access to it. And then we're going to take questions, but I did just want to point out this picture. I use this picture usually either at the beginning or ending of most of my presentations because this is actually Earthrise. It's the first picture of Earth that was taken from space. It's a very famous picture, and it always gives me goosebumps because when you look at this picture, you don't see borders, you don't see boundaries, you don't see differences. We really are just one people here together. So it's one of my favorite pictures.
Beautiful picture.
Thank you. So yeah, I know I had some questions in the chat box. Let me pull that up and then we'll go over those. And then if anybody has any other questions, you can feel free to type them out, or you can just unmute yourself and turn your camera on and we can talk about it.
Can I say something before we get to those questions?
Absolutely, go ahead.
And once again, thanks to everybody that's on here, and thanks for your interest. It is really is important that we have these type of discussions, especially where we are in the world today. And I like to usually say where we are, from my perspective, is I think we're at the third wave of civil rights and equity and learning in this country. And when I say the third wave, then I mean that right after the Civil War, during Reconstruction, I think that was the first wave. right after slavery ended and everything that happened during Reconstruction. Then we know that got closed down, and then we didn't have the second wave until the 60s. That's during MLK, Malcolm X, people at that time, Lyndon Johnson, when we had the civil rights laws passed. And we got through that. And then we had another little break, and things got not bad, but not as good as we would want. But after this George Floyd incident, I think we entered the third wave. And if you look and you see the people that was participating in those protests, they were a little different. They looked different because it was everybody. It was all people. It was people that for the better of the entire world. There were people who no longer was divided by race. They was out there because some things that was happening was not right. They weren't just. They weren't equitable. And it was not just anybody, it was everybody. And that's because people over time have started to live together and look around and say, if you're treating this guy wrong, you're treating me wrong. So now we're at the third wave, and I think this is going to be the one that gets us over the top. So get your surfboards out and let's all ride this way.
Walter, that was a great statement. That was awesome. So the first question we have is from Kate. She said, can we hear more about how Overtown got gentrified? I am confused about how or why Newtown is separate from Overtown.
Okay, yeah, that happened because the founding fathers or the powers to be at the time realized that where Overtown was, which is known as the Rosemary district, was a place they needed to grow. In other words, Overtown, Rosemary district is just what it is. It's over from downtown. Overtown was between 3rd Street and 10th Street, north and south, 41 and Orange Avenue, east and west. And as the city was growing, they needed that space to grow for them. So in 1910, maybe later, maybe about 1914, they decided, well, we've got to do something with those people. So they plotted Newtown, and they named it Newtown, and they plotted an area as far north of the city boundaries as they could, and they slowly but surely moved the Black people up to that area. The first thing they moved was the school. They moved the school from that Overtown to Newtown. They moved it as far north as they could. That's why Booker sits right at Myrtle Avenue up there, which is the northernmost city limit. Then they moved the churches. Then they built a housing project. You know, they slowly but surely did it, and eventually now you only have one Black family, and excuse me when I say that, one of the original Black families that was in that area that still has property and live there.
Thank you.
That answers the question. That's the short answer, by the way.
So let's see. I don't see any more questions in the chat box. Does anybody else have any questions? You can feel free to unmute yourself, or you can type it in the chat box as well. Okay. Oh, looks like something just came up. I would love to know about First Friday. So Walter, do you want to just talk more about that? I know it's
First Friday. Chantel Norman developed it is a means of actually opening the community up and bringing people out and having people come together. What it is, they have vendors there of all sorts. They have a stage and they have music of all sorts. And it's just people coming together and celebrating and becoming neighbors more. Also, as I said, it's on the grounds where we're planning to build the Cultural Arts and Cultural Center. So we're trying to get that atmosphere started there. And once we move the Leonard Reed House to that area, you'll see more of that type of feeling for that area there. And you know, with COVID and everything that was going on, that was another way to reawakening and bring people back outside together.
Thank you. Anybody else? Kate said, say more on Overtown, Newtown move, if you can, Walter.
Okay, what can I say? Yes, Overtown, like I say, Overtown was the original Black community. You gotta remember, these people came here in the late 1800s. These people were from South Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi. You've heard of the Great Migration, and every time you hear about that, you hear about people going north. But some of those people came to Florida because Florida wasn't Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, if you know what I mean. You know, it didn't have that history tied to it. Florida was still like a new place for people, even though it was the South, even though it operated under the Jim Crow laws and restrictions, it still wasn't Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. So these people came here. There was probably one generation out of slavery, and Florida was growing, and there was work here. There was work for them to do. There was agriculture. Florida was being built. Trains with tracks and stations and was being developed, and all that stuff was happening here. So there was work here for those people. They were pretty well uneducated as far as books and things of that nature, but they knew how to work, and the work was here, and they came here and they started a community, and they thrived.
And then we have another question. Can Walter tell us more about the murals? The one at Lido Beach on the Wade In is wonderful. Will the new ones be in the same spirit?
Thank you for seeing that mural. That was a beautiful mural. I was happy to talk to Tim and help contribute to the thought behind the people that was on it. If anybody hasn't seen it, please go out there. It documents an important part of Sarasota history. As I said, Sarasota was in the South and operated under Jim Crow laws, and Black people couldn't go to the beach. You know, they couldn't go to the beach and enjoy the natural things that everybody else could if you weren't Black. So there was a beach boycott that was established by Mr. Neil Humphrey, who was president of Sarasota branch NAACP. This boycott went on for 10 years. Imagine that, 10 years. And every Sunday they would load up in cars and they would go out and do what they call the wade in. You know, it wasn't going out to have a picnic at the beach and a barbecue or anything like that. They would leave church services. They would get in a car caravan, drive out to the beach, and roll up the pants leg and wade into the water and just do a live demonstration that we wanted to be able to go to the beach like everybody else. The county offered all type of deals to try to keep that from happening. They even offered to give them their own quote unquote colored beach out on Longboat Key. That's why Longboat Key is a city now, because they didn't want the city or the county telling them what to do. So they incorporated and became a city, so they wouldn't have to operate under the county rules and have to end up having a colored beach out in their area. But those people that's on that mural are the people that led that wade in and made it happen. The new murals will document some of the people that built Overtown, and that was pioneers in that area. There also would be artistic type murals in that same area.
Thank you. Any more questions?
And you could go to, there's a site, RAD, R-A-D-D. That's Rosemary Arts Design and Cultural District, Arts District. Please feel free to go to that and you find out more information on what the plans are for that area. That's R-A-D-D, RAD.
Kate wants to know, is RAD for people who can't afford to live in Rosemary? I thought it was for locals only.
I don't understand the question.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what you're asking. It's not like, it's like an arts district almost.
Yeah, RAD is just the organization that's facilitating and developing what we're talking about. And one of the things that RAD is going to be doing is the Gilbert Mural Initiative. And we're also going to be doing some things to develop the arts and cultural centers down there in the art district. We're going to be doing all type of things there. So.
Yeah, so it's not just for locals only. Anybody can go see the murals if you live around here, or you can visit their website to learn more.
Yeah, we're going to have activities, festivals, things of that nature that fits into the art district that we're developing there.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, if there's no more questions, I did just want to say thank you all again for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to sign up for this and learn more. And if you have any questions at all after the presentation, definitely feel free to email me. And I'll be sending out a copy of the presentation as well that has all the websites and links and stuff that got all my information from. But again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you everybody for your interest, and just remember, we're riding that third wave now.
Yes, thank you, Walter. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.